Okay, thanks, Nyanadara. So my name is Ratnadharani, and I'm standing here in the room that's now known as Bhim Smriti. It's a room at Adhisthana which is now dedicated to the memory of Dr. Ambedkar. And the inspiration for this space came from a conversation that the Indian Public Preceptors had with Bhante in 2018, so not long before Bhante died. And after that, they commissioned this wonderful bust of Dr. Ambedkar, which was unveiled by Subhuti last November during the International College meeting. And eventually this whole room, the plan for this room is that it will be an exhibition space dedicated to Dr. Ambedkar. So look out for it next time you're here at Adhisthana. And it's very appropriate that I'm standing here to introduce Nagaketu, who, as we heard, is in India. He's going to be giving the first of a series of 6 talks by 6 public preceptors over the coming 6 months. And the series itself is called A Koan for Our Times. So A Koan for Our Times. And it's called A Koan because at some point in our spiritual lives, many of us will find ourselves up against a koan, and it's probably going to take the form of self and other, our personal practice versus the need to respond to the altruistic dimension of our practice, or even the need to withdraw as well as engage with the world. And it can be difficult to work out how to manage this. And certainly Bhante Sangharakshita saw the tension that you can experience between these 2 apparent opposites very much as a koan, because it can't be solved on its own level. It's not just a matter of dividing our time between ourselves and others, but of genuinely starting to experience there being no contradiction between these 2. So this series of talks will introduce topics like, what does a Buddhist order have to offer the world at times of conflict, violence, even environmental destruction? How is the creation of spiritual community relevant to our wider society? What would an effective and ethical response to the cries of the world look like? So you can imagine the kind of question many of us find ourselves pondering. And the Buddha's teachings work on all levels when they address suffering, both the profound level and very practical levels. From things that seem quite common sense, practicalities, to radical transformation of both ourselves and the world around us. And this is beautifully expressed in the figure of the Bodhisattva. And the Bodhisattva's practice is dedicated for the benefit of all beings. And one formulation of this is the 6 paramitas or perfections, which are generosity, morality, patience, energy, meditation, and wisdom. And these paramitas are going to form the basis of the talks we're going to hear about from an international lineup of public preceptors. They're going to be coming from public preceptors who are either from or have connections right across the Triratna community, spanning the UK, Europe, India, New Zealand, Australia, the United States, Mexico, Latin America. But the first one we're going to hear today is a talk by Nagaketu. Nagaketu was ordained in 1992. He's since then been working for the movement, so he's been very dedicated to doing all he can to bring about change. He set up a publishing house and a bookshop, and more recently online Dharma activities in India. He was the main Mitra convener in India for some time and involved in the very early days of the International Council. He joined the ordination team in India in 2011, became a private preceptor in 2014, and a public preceptor in 2022. And as we heard, he's going to be speaking to us from Dehradun in India, the foothills of the Himalayas, where he's in between retreats. I think it's about 9 o'clock in the evening. And I very much look forward to what he has to say on the first paramitta of dana. His title is Generosity and the Transformation of Society. Nagaketu.
Thank you very much, Ratnadarini, for your kind and generous introduction to the theme. Thank you, Dhanadhara, Suryanaga, and Chandradasa, for organizing this beautiful event today. I feel very honored to speak today on this theme of koans or our times, in which I am going to talk about generosity and transformation of society on this celebrating day of Triratna Day 2024. In the past couple of times, I listened to Bhante or other senior order members speaking on this occasion at various places in the UK. But I never ever thought that one day I may have to speak on this occasion on the international level. Speaking in India on this occasion in Marathi or Hindi or with translation in other Indian languages is relatively easy. But speaking in your third language is slightly challenging. I hope you will understand me well and forgive my poor pronunciation and English. When we think about generosity, or we call it dana, it is one of the fundamental Buddhist tradition. If we want to be a Buddhist, we must practice generosity or we must give. It is one of the 5 precepts when we think about 5 or 10 precepts, positive precepts. In Vimalkirti Sutra, which is one of the important Mahayana texts, it says that for building the Buddha land, we must practice generosity, which is also called one of the unifying factors of creating ideal society. Urgen Sangarakshita says in one of the talks he gave in Nagpur called 10 Buddhist ornaments, generosity or dana is one of the Buddhist ornaments. Generosity and dana is the first perfection, as said by Ratnadharini, one of the 6 paramitas. And I'm going to talk about the dana. Dana help us to live a kind of bodhisattva path. We call it bodhicharya. Charya means a kind of practice or life. Dana in oneself, it helps us to go beyond our self-clinging and attachment to things. We also know very well that generosity is an expression or altruistic dimension of our going for refuge. When we commit ourselves to the 3 jewels and we want to express ourselves that in our society, we must practice generosity or dana. When we try to understand generosity in a deeper sense, particularly a kind of koans, For some people, practicing generosity in modern times or in our situation can be a little difficult, especially if you are living in Western country where society or social life is not very strong. For many people, they don't know or don't understand enough how to express and practice in the outer world. Sometimes our circumstances are also don't allow us to express it fully. Whereas in traditional countries like India, it is relatively easy to practice generosity or give. Practicing dana, practicing generosity is an integral part of Indian culture and social life. Sharing things, sharing whatever we have is very common here in India. We often share things with our families, with our relatives, friends, neighbors, beggars, monks, spiritual practitioner, even people feed animals on street. People feel that it's very a precious thing. Serving elders, sick people, helping poor with material things like food, cloth, shelter, medicine, money, guiding them for living better life, giving information, helping getting them for good education is very common here in India. If we want to practice generosity with positive intention, then it can help us to overcome about self-clinging, as earlier said. It helps us to go beyond our greed and possessive attitude. It helps us to develop metta, kindness, and compassion. By practicing selflessness, we can connect people in a deeper sense and develop brotherhood. When we think about generosity and as a kind of transformative force in society, as I said earlier, if we want to build a new society, if we want to change the world, we must make or we must practice generosity and share whatever we have to people. Generosity is an important tool for building or transforming the society. We can see there is lot of suffering and lot of difficulties around the world. And as a Buddhist, we must respond to the suffering and whatever difficulties we are facing or whatever challenges we are facing at the moment in the world. Generosity help us to break down our or overcome our barriers between different class, caste, by different background and countries. It helps us to foster a sense of interconnectedness, which we are all connected with each other. In India, there is a very common belief in people, especially those who are the followers of Dr. Ambedkar, that because of our interconnectedness, because we have been helped by many people in our life, therefore, we must pay back to the society. This notion of paying back to the society is very common or very been practiced amongst Dr. Ambedkar followers in India. So people often think about helping others, going out, reaching out to different people. So people help each other to transform their life in whatever way, and they feel it is our responsibility to help others. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's own example is an unique one which exemplify the expression and practice of generosity in modern times. Because of his great contribution and work in various fields, millions of people found a new life. Several millions of people feel freedom, and they have brought themselves out of from the hell of caste and all oppressing conditions. That's why we called Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar a modern bodhisattva who has not only exemplified the generosity but practiced all the other paramitas perfection in his life. Some of us may know that he was an economic scholar and studied at London School of Economics, as Nandara said, and he lived in UK there. He also studied in USA. He wanted to spend his rest of the life for the development of Buddhism in India, and he believed that only Buddhism can transform or change the world. So many people are very much inspired by his vision for creating a new society or building a kind of new kind of world or transforming the whole world. He asked his all followers at around some 70 years ago when he converted himself into Buddhism that people should give or should donate 5% of their income for spreading Buddhism because he believed that spreading Buddhism is meant to serve the mankind. He wanted to have an international Buddhist mission through which those economical strong Buddhist countries can help Buddhist people in India and where there is needed. When we think about India nowadays, the gulf between poor and rich is growing very fast in India, which is creating a kind of suffering, stress, and polarization in the society. And a lot of tension is being amongst in the society. Although generosity is an internal part of Indian culture, there is great need for educating people to practice is more effectively, particularly why to give and how to give. Many times, because it is very a kind of traditional society, people think that others are giving, therefore we should give, or some kind out of pressure or out of fear, people give. So there is a need for explaining people, understanding people that what is the reason for giving. As I said in earlier, I mean, we should work out from our self-clinging and work on our greed or possessive attitude. There is need to advocate and promote about distribution of resources for the benefit of all human beings. Because, as I said, nowadays a gulf between poor and rich is very growing, and so little people are holding so much wealth, and it hasn't been distributed equally, or the resources hasn't been distributed or going to the downtrodden people. That's why there is a kind of tension always there in the society. So if you want to transform the society, if you want to help the society, all the resources should be distributed properly. And those who want to transform the society in a positive way and don't know what to do, they must think about India, because here millions of people, they just want to listen the dharma, they need a kind of help, and there is always need for connecting people for living better life and understanding Buddhism. As I, as earlier Ratnadhar said that, I am here at Dehradun for last couple of days. Just we finished one event, and from tonight we are going to start another event. Working for ordination process team, we always travel a lot across the country for thousands of miles. So whenever we go, people really always ready to listen the dharma, and they want to transform their life. They want to live a better and meaningful life. So uh, we are always on the wheel. We always on the move. We always move from one place to another. So if really people want to contribute, and we always need a good teachers here in India, we need people who can work for Buddhism, and there is always people are looking for more guidance, support, and encouragement for living a better life. So on this occasion, on celebrating Triratna Day worldwide, I remember that in the past, Bhante encouraged people to move out from our situation, to go out from our situation and work in the society, and try to transform the society as a kind of an ideal society. So I invite people, those who are, I can see on the screen, that wherever there is need, I think we must go out and try to exemplify ourselves as our expression of going for refuge in the world. Whatever we have, if we have skills, we can share our skills. If we know the dharma, we can share the dharma to the people. If we want to give material things, we can share that things with billions of people who are waiting to receive that. So on this day, I must thank Ratnadharini and all the people who have organized this event. And we are starting koans of our modern times, and through generosity or practicing the different perfections. And uh, thank you very much for giving me a chance to speak on this occasion and express my thinking about generosity, particularly from India. So that's what I would like to share on this occasion. Thank you very much for listening.